Only been a few hours, but it felt like days. Only been days, but it felt like months. Been gone for a year.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Maxine, aka She's on Purpose, and that's just basically what it is. I'm on purpose to do what it is God is calling me to do. So today I have been studying. I believe I have a word, okay? And I do have to let you know in advance this video is going to be parts to this, simply because this was given to me some time ago, and I went through a transition period for this word. So I know this word is heavy on for somebody. Not exactly sure who it is, but I pray that this blesses your soul and that it helps you. And as you can see by the title of this video, your story, His glory. God will turn your pain into purpose. So the first thing I want to do, I want to ask you this. Have you ever asked yourself, like, who you are or why you are the way that you are? Why you react the way that you are? Why you're triggered the way that you are? Why you're angry? Why you're depressed? Why you have anxiety? Why you're mean? Just like, have you stopped and just asked yourself for a moment? Because there's a little girl in us, or there's someone in us. It could be a little girl, it could be a young adult, it can be an adult in us that actually needs to heal. We weren't born mean. We weren't born angry. We weren't born mad or sad. Those are the traits that we inherited as a result of the things that we've gone through. And so I wanted to go to a place of healing for myself. I no longer wanted to be any of those things, okay? I can't say what I was or wasn't. I just know that I was something I did not want to be. And I just was like, God, I don't know, but this is not life for me. I don't like it here. And so the next thing I want to ask you is, have you ever asked yourself, who am I? Just like, not even who am I as a result of what happened, but just like, who am I? I remember asking myself, like, who am I? And I could not answer that. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was. And now I know that, I'm a child of God, beautifully broken, but still with purpose. I understand my triggers. I understand my anger. And I understand, I am healing. I am not healed. So I still can be triggered. I understand that I am strong, way stronger than I probably should be some days. And sometimes being too strong can make you weak. I just got to a point where I just no longer wanted to be who I was. I no longer wanted to be triggered. I no longer wanted to be a part of anything that tore anybody down. So God gave me this scripture. And y'all forgive me because I had to rig, oh Lord, I had to rig this thing to set up in here because my stand I did not bring, but I was not even gonna make no excuses as to why I couldn't get this word out, because God has been after me for a while to get this word out. So without further ado, I'm gonna go straight into it. And so I said, God, you telling me your story, my glory. What do you mean? I want to go to scripture because, and this is so funny. Let me tell y'all how God works, right? So I was like, okay, God. Now, let me tell you, when he told me to tell my story, y'all, this was about, I want to say maybe 9 months ago, 10 months ago. And I'm like, God, I'm not telling nobody my story. I'm just not going to do that. Like, if I don't know them, I'm not telling people my story, because it's my business. So the thing I felt most vulnerable about was telling my story, because it gets ugly. It gets ugly. And so let me go into this because I'm going to kind of cut it down a little bit. So I want to tell you first, I Googled, I said, okay, God, you said you would turn my pain into purpose. So I just Googled what scriptures are good for turning your pain into purpose, right? And the first one that came up was Revelations 21:4. So, I started writing down other scriptures because there were other good scriptures along with that one. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know which one I'm going to use yet, but I guess I'll figure it out. Well, lo and behold, I did not read my Bible scripture that day. So I wound up reading it that night around like 9 o'clock, and I'm going to insert it here. It was Revelations 21:4. That is what opened up. When I opened up my Bible app, that is exactly what popped up. He says, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. The old order of things has passed away. He who is seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. Then he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. I wanted to start with some things I felt like were a trigger, were the main triggers in my life that caused me to be the way that I am. But God told me back on April the 16th, my sister was getting married, and I was actually, I don't know why, I was really out of sorts for some reason. And now I understand why I was out of sorts, because God was actually doing a work in me in that moment, and he was showing me people, and he was showing me things, and he was showing me relationships. He was showing me this, and it was things that I did not believe in the beginning or wanted to believe, when I just threw it in the back of my mind. So God said, you keep asking me who you are, in order for me to tell you who you are or show you who you are, I got to give you the whole story. You keep telling yourself half of the story. So I just want to say this real quick. For so long, I was angry with my mom because I felt like my mom was very physically abusive. She put me through so much, and there was so much that happened with my mom. I just felt like my mom had impacted me in such a negative way that it created this chaos that was down on the inside of me. And then God showed me something a month ago, back in April. He was like, you blamed your mom for everything. And while that may have been the case, you let your dad off the hook. And so I got to show you the whole story. I got to tell you the whole story in order for you to get the full picture and see who you are. Okay? So, first things first, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. First of all, I was born to my mom. She was 15 years old. And I'm not exactly sure how I winded up with this lady, Miss Harris, but I did. And they say you'll forget what a person said to you, but you will never forget how they made you feel. And I remember this lady, Miss Harris, just making me feel loved, making me feel welcome. And I want to say she even made my clothes. I just remember being in a crib with, and I was clean, and I had on some white, the white hard bottoms. I just remember the love that I felt from this lady. And then, long story short, my mom and my aunties kidnapped me from this lady because my mom wanted me back, and she didn't want this lady to have her baby. I don't know how I felt about that for so long, because I was like, how can you love me, but you won't give me a chance at life? And even if that chance means with someone else who is able and willing to care for me. And I remember at an early age, the confusion that I had in my heart, in my mind, just thinking what is happening, Then fast forward, at the age of about 4 or 5, and guys, I'm going to be looking over here because I do have several different notes, which I'm not going to get through everything in this video because it is going to be broken down. But at the age about 4 or 5, I remember calling my dad uncle. And the thing about it was he never corrected me, right? I was running around. It was my cousins and we were running around. I remember we were at this trailer and we were running around. We were in North Carolina, and I wind up busting my head. I don't know which side is on, but I think I want to say this one. I wind up busting my head on the brick steps, like the steps had moved. Running around the house all day long, and somehow I just thought the steps had moved and ran smack into the brick. Clumsy, okay, clumsy. But anywho, bust my head wide open, and so his ex-wife, well, his then wife, I believe they had wound up taking me to the hospital. I had to get stitches because I was, I had bust my head open real good. I had to get stitches, and so when I came back, I just remember, I don't remember what I was calling him for, but I was like, hey, Uncle Don, Uncle Don, Uncle Don. And I remember her taking me into the room, and she's like, why are you calling him Uncle Don? And I'm like, because he's my uncle. And she's like, no, baby. So my heart dropped because I was like, dang, that's not even my uncle. Like, what you mean? Everybody else calling him uncle. Why can't he be my uncle? And she's like, baby, that's your dad. My dad? He wasn't going to tell me he was my dad? And I think I thought that in the moment. I feel like I thought that because I was then embarrassed. I remember distinctively being embarrassed, like calling him, Uncle Don, but never thinking in a million years, like it was his responsibility to say to me, I am your father. Like, just think about that. Ponder that for a minute. Like, you running around with your father, or you running around with your cousins, and your cousins like, Uncle Don or Uncle Tommy or Uncle whatever, and you calling him the same thing, but whole time he your father, and then somebody else got to tell you. That hurt. Fast forward, and these are all my pain points, guys. I have a project that I'm working on that's going to come out. It's going to be my memoir and my story, but this is what God has asked me to do, so I'm going to be skipping some parts. There are some parts that's just going to come later, okay? At the age of 7, I was molested. Not only was I molested, but I was given gonorrhea at the age of 7. You would think that would be the painful part, but the painful part in this was the situation that surrounded the molestation. It was more painful to lay on the table and have my aunt, my mother, and the doctor standing over me looking at my private area like I was a science project, and I don't even know what's going on. All I know is my mom goes outside of the room, and I hear her outside, and she's yelling to the top of her lungs. I'm terrified. I have no clue what's going on because I'm a kid. I don't know. Or the next traumatic part was the fact that I had to take these big pink pills that was about this damn big and wide, and they would just get, here, you got to take these. It wasn't no, baby, I'm so sorry this happened to you, you have to take these so it can clean you. Everybody looked at me like I was a science project. Like, what do we do next? Or the next traumatic part to that was I had to go to, I don't know if we went to court or if we went to the courthouse or if we went to the precinct. I don't know where we were. I just know that wherever we were, there were long hallways, and I had to go in and I had to answer questions. Questions from a white detective, mind you. I was young. I didn't really see white people like that. I didn't, and I'm gonna be 100% honest about that. And so I was terrified. My mom actually left me in the room with these two guys who questioned me about me having about me being molested. Like I was lying when the proof was on the paper. Here I am taking these big pink pills with gonorrhea. Okay? What did I just make up? Somebody did this to me. I told them who did it. I never lied. And I'll put that on everything. I never lied. I told them who it was. But people want to look at you crazy when you start telling your story because their people are so screwed up. Like, it's crazy. I was molested by a family member, given gonorrhea. But the most traumatic part about that was my mom outside yelling and screaming, trying to attack the very person that did it. But my friends are outside. The people I go to school with are outside. Like, it was the trauma that surrounded it. Sometimes the trauma is not really the thing that happened to you. Sometimes the trauma can be what happens surrounding it. Like, you can tell your mother that so-and-so did something to you. And I done heard people's story where they say, my mom didn't believe me. And that's the most traumatic part of it. Sometimes it's not even about what what that person did to you. It's the trauma that surrounds it. It hurts like hell. It hurt to be left at a damn precinct or be left, and excuse my French, it hurt to be left at a police station or a courthouse to have to tell your story at the age of 7 when the proof is on the paper. Next, at the age of 10, I ran away from an abusive, drug-addicted mom with no clue where to go. And this is where the dynamics of the relationships began to change in my mind. Because when I ran away, my mom had been asleep for like, I want to say like 3 days. And I was hungry. Not only was I hungry, I was delusional. I was just tired because I think I had been up, she had been up, and I remember just playing in her perfume and playing in her lipstick. And when my mom woke up, the very first thing she did was she said, I smell my perfume, and I had her lipstick. My mom beat me. When she started, I remember it being daytime. When she finished, it was nighttime. And her then boyfriend had to tell me, had to come in the room and tell her to stop. He said, stop, that's enough. At the end of the day, I'm sorry guys, at the end of the day, that was enough. And for me, I was naked. I was naked in front of her boyfriend and her boyfriend's friend when she beat me. It was in that moment I knew that it was time for me to go, because it was either going to be her or me. And I said it, and I cannot tell y'all the thoughts that I had in my head, but it will come out one day. But I don't even want to go there. But the thoughts that I had in my head, I knew that either it would be her life or my life. And I was betting on me. So I ran away. And when I ran away, I ran away to my hero. Or did I? So I'm gonna leave it right here because it's getting a little long, and I want to really be able to tell this story in a way that you can follow me, a way that you can understand me, because I pray that this helps someone to see things in a different light, to see things differently. And listen, I'm telling this story. I'm not telling my story for pity. I'm not telling my story so that you can feel sorry for me. I am telling my story to let you know that I got the victory, that I came out so much better than I was battered and bruised and broken. And I sought healing, even when it wasn't directly available for me. I sought healing in God. I sought healing in love. I sought healing. So if I can leave you with nothing else at the end of this video, seek healing. And seeking healing is where you're going to find your purpose. Just because those things happen to you don't mean that that's who you have to be as a result of those things happening to you. Until we talk next time, I love you guys. Stay blessed, stay positive, and stay healing.